What's up, everybody? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary, the podcast about trees and other related topics. I am just one of the hosts of this show. My name is Alex.
My name is Casey. I'm here to talk to you about trees.
Hi, Casey.
Hey, Alex. How you going?
I'm going
That's
pretty
great.
Pretty good.
Oh, I thought you were done with your word or with your sentence.
No, I'm doing fine. I had a good day. I spent the day with my nieces, as I told you when you arrived here.
You did. Every time I see a kid and hang out and talk about your nieces, you seem so happy. They seem like they must be delightful.
I love them very much. I taught my my oldest niece is very much into like her Nintendo Switch and games, and that makes me very excited because I, as a child, I was very much into games, still am, and I got her like a beginner set for the Pokemon card game, and we learned how to play today together, and she was brilliant. She picked it up immediately.
Man, kids are like they're like sponges. I know that's kind of a cliche.
Yeah,
but man, like there was. I think it was one of my old coworkers. His daughter drew him something, and she was like, "Here," and he's like, "I'm going to take it to work." She came into our office one time. She had not set foot more than 2 inches into that room. She's like, "Where's my photo? Or where's my drawing?"
Whoa.
It's like they just remember things. Like, it's like anything new just sticks with them. Their brain is so open.
Yeah, you really just have to tell. I mean, like in some regards, you really just have to tell a kid something once, and it just like glues into their brain.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm so happy you did that. It's a beautiful day out right now. My God.
It is. Did you just work today?
I did. I went to work. I had a big training on pesticide use.
Cool.
Yeah, real cool. It was nice. Although I am always like, you know me, I like animals and things and bugs and such. And I just don't like pesticides. They have a place. That's reasonable. But man, this is my own bias. I don't care for golf. I know this probably comes as a surprise. Yeah. Golf is not a game that I really prefer. I got kicked out of a golf club. I said golf, thank you. A club that does golf with golf clubs.
I didn't think that you got kicked out of a...
Me and my family grew up in a golf club.
You're like the borrowers.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
grew up inside a hollowed out wood.
I totally forgot
iron.
about that.
I know so little about golf. I can't even tell you what.
Well, driver. Regardless, we were there, and they use pesticides to like keep their grass perfectly green. They use a ridiculous amount of water to keep it like all fancy. It's like you drive down to the desert, and you're just like driving. You look over, and there's this luscious green golf course in the middle of Arizona. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I was doing these pesticides, and they're like, yeah, this has a safety thing on it so that people don't use it or ingest it. And the reason we don't want to ingest it is because it does this to your nervous system. It's why if you spray it on a wasp, you see it like convulse. And I'm just like, God, that's awful. Like, I just don't like it. We use these chemicals. We don't want it to be used on us or dogs or animals.
For sure.
But we can totally just watch an insect convulse itself to death because its nervous system implodes on it. Sounds awful. Anyway, it was great. I learned all about it. Learned all about them.
Yeah, isn't that weird? We have sort of I don't know. I feel like animal lovers are usually like mammal lovers.
Yeah, what is it? Charismatic megafauna? Polar bears and giraffes?
Yeah, giraffes.
Giraffes.
Casey, we have a tree to talk about this week.
Yes,
shocker.
I didn't expect it. It comes every week.
It does. In like Santa, but more frequent.
If only Santa came every week.
I'd have so many new trikes.
You do get a trike every year, don't you?
Casey, this week we are talking about a Lebanese tree.
Ooh, yes, that's true.
And I'm sure people could guess just from that or the episode title.
Probably.
This week we're talking about the Cedar of Lebanon.
Lebanon. That is right. So we jumped on our camels. We hiked up through the Sahel. We went through the Sahara. We got into our caravan, hit a couple of oases, and we found ourselves along the Syrian mountains.
Usually we kind of decide together how we travel, but you kind of took the reins on that one.
I did because we're on camels,
camel reins.
And you're not an animal person.
What?
Not a camel person is what I meant to think.
You don't think I'm an animal person?
You're not a camel person, are you?
It's like a cornerstone of my personality. What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know.
Do you even know me?
I don't. What's your last name?
Jesus Christ.
Cromley?
That hurts me, Casey.
I'm sorry. I meant camel person.
I'm a camel person. Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. All
I got
right.
eyes and a face. I can be empathic
Charismatic
with.
megafauna. Yeah, how do you feel about the ants?
I'm a little pissed off that you said I was an animal person.
I'm
I take
sorry.
it personally.
I know you are.
I'm not going to let this go.
Don't do it. Let it go.
My face is warm.
I can see I'm upset.
All right, we hopped on our camels, which I hate apparently because I'm evil, and we trekked over to Lebanon.
Yes, Lebanon, Turkey, Syria, kind of that section of the Middle East, the Mediterranean.
Okay, great.
And it is a beautiful, beautiful area. Have you been there?
No, I've never really been anywhere.
Oh, well, if you ever go there, take me with you because I also have never been there. And this is a tree. It's called the Cedar of Lebanon. Alex, you know how we've talked about cedar trees before? Like what is a cedar? What is not a cedar? What is a fir? What is not a fir?
Right.
This is a cedar. Full stop. No dash.
It is a true cedar.
Yes.
Is this our first true tree?
No, I think like oaks are, it's true oak.
Oh,
there are
sure.
she oaks, technically speaking.
Oh, like the She-Hulk.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm not going to say exactly, but I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Similar. Yeah, I don't think so. I think maybe in conifers. Maybe.
All right, it doesn't really matter.
Let's say yes because
True
we
cedar.
assert things here.
Cedrus Lebani?
Yeah, that's it. Labani.
Lebani. What is
Yeah.
Lebani?
Labani means of Lebanon.
Oh, duh.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
And this is such a cool tree because there are only 3 or maybe 4 species of true cedars. Cedrus Lebani, the cedar of Lebanon. Cedrus deodara, which is a Himalayan cedar or the deodar cedar. Grows a little bit more in the east, more towards the Himalayas. Then you have the Atlas cedar.
Okay.
But some people think that the Atlas cedar, Cedrus atlantica, is actually just a subspecies of Cedrus labani.
Oh.
Such a shame, isn't it?
Okay, but it's not?
It depends on who you ask. You know the lumpers and splitters, classic taxonomy.
Lumpers and splitter. You said this a few times before, and every time you say it, I kind of just glaze over it and we continue.
I can't believe I never described this to you.
But today I'm like, I gotta say something.
I thank you for stopping
See
me.
something, say something.
Now my face is getting red. Now I feel like I'm just glossing over.
Lumpers and splitters. Is this
Yes.
is this dendrology terminology?
It's taxonomy terminology.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the lodgepole pine. I'm sure I brought it up there. So you have certain certain taxonomists who name and classify trees and plants and things, and they would say they would do like investigations into like, is this one kind of tree with several different subspecies or varieties, or are each one of those subspecies and varieties species in and of their own right?
I'm so sorry. That went straight over my head.
Oh gosh, okay. Basically, everyone would lump him into Cedrus labanii,
lumpers.
variety this, variety that, or they
Okay.
would split them
Got it.
into Cedrus atlantica, Cedrus labani, Cedrus brevifolia.
When we're talking trees and talking splitting, I immediately thought like chopping firewood.
Oh yeah, no, this is on paper.
Okay, got it.
In the annals of the taxonomy textbooks.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I understand now. Lumpers and what are you? Are you a lumper? You're a splitter.
Oh,
You're clearly a splitter.
I think I'm a splitter. Maybe it's just because I like memorizing scientific names.
You're like a splitter, but with like the je ne sais quoi of a lumper.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That's why I can hang out with both of them. I can sit on both sides of that table.
Yeah, the cool kids and the dorks.
Yeah, you lumpers and splitters.
Okay, Casey, we are walking
Anyway.
through, we're riding our camels through a Turkish forest, and we come across a bunch of cedar of Lebanon. Let's talk. What do they look like?
Yep.
Leaves, bark, and shape,
Yes.
and let's cones. Leaves,
Yeah.
bark, shape, cones. The big 4.
That's perfect. Those are big 4.
Yeah.
All right. So this is how the tree grows. It's a tall, big conifer. It's huge.
It is.
And it can grow and live for over 1,000 years. Like I think you found one last week when we were talking about doing this. It was over 1,000 years old.
Yes.
So several of them can grow and live for a very long time. And they have this big straight trunk, just like most conifers or many conifers. And so that big, long, or that big, huge trunk will just slowly get bigger and bigger. So you can get these massive, huge diameter trees, right?
It grows out.
Yeah, it just gets by
I guess
diameter.
all trees grow out.
Yeah, they do.
Sorry.
You never apologize to me, Alex.
I'm in a weird day.
You look so good over there in your shirt. We were talking about your shirt earlier, and I just still think it's great. Buck Meek. Anyway.
I liked that with zero context. Looks so good in your shirt.
If I could squeeze your cheeks right now.
It's not what I thought you were going to say.
So so you're walking through this forest, and you're actually it's another one of those sad situations where you used to be able to walk through the same kind of forest that we have here in the PNW, where it's just these massive, huge forests of gigantic conifer trees everywhere you go. Now there's I think one of the things I read that I think it was last updated maybe 2009 and maybe read in 2016, it basically looks like there's maybe 20-some% of this forest type left in Lebanon.
Wow.
More in Turkey, but just still not a lot.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because they have these big, tall, straight trunks, just the way we use our pine trees and fir trees and things over here as like the industrial tree. It's what we build stuff with.
Oh, it's harvested.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it has been for thousands upon thousands of years.
Sure.
And back, thousands and thousands of years ago, people weren't so concerned with like, well, let's make sure we don't destroy this forest resource. It kind of, for a little while it was, and then they basically like, we're going to take over the world. We're the Romans. And then they just took them all out.
Well, we are going to talk about the uses of this tree from a human perspective.
But meanwhile,
I would love to talk about what I think is my favorite part of a true cedar.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this?
I don't know where you're going. There's two places I could go with this.
The cone.
Ah, yeah, the cone's great. All right.
Let's enter the cone zone, Casey.
The cone zone.
It's like the Twilight Zone, but it's like
cone.
Cone. That's really cool and creative, Alex.
That was really good.
Yeah.
You even did it on pitch.
Yeah, well,
Singer-songwriter.
Can't turn it off, Casey.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, before you get to the cones, you got the leaves. So cedar trees, they're evergreen conifers. They're in the pine family, Pinaceae. They also, interestingly, split off. They look really similar in terms of the cone. Their cone grows upright. That's half the reason it's so exciting.
So strange.
They grow upright, but they also split off and they are dehiscent. So they fall apart piece by piece, just like a true fir.
Yes, they break off in scale by scale.
Yeah.
And the scales almost have kind of like a ginkgo leaf shape to them.
Kind of fan shaped.
Yes, they're fan shaped.
And then point at the end.
What you're left with is like what looks a little bit like like at a restaurant or like at a diner, they take the ticket behind the counter and they stab it onto that pointer thing.
Yeah.
It looks like that.
Oh, you're talking about the axle of the cone axle. Yeah. Okay. So that's the part. So you have the cone. It's growing upright from the branch, which is another wacky thing that this tree does. It has these like 4-inch cones, right? They grow up. And then they have that central axis, and that axis is what each one of the cone scales is attached to.
Yes, I love that.
I see what you're talking about.
I love that.
And so, yes, you're exactly right. And then all the cone scales fall apart, and then you're left with that. Is that what you're talking about?
I have a true cedar cone over here on my desk.
Exactly.
It is sapped shut. Like, I had another one that exploded.
I love that.
And this one's in a jar and it has so much sap on it that it's like it's like petrified.
It's like I can't move.
Glued together.
I love that they explode. I've had that happen one time where two of them just exploded. They were sitting on a shelf and we were just hanging out watching TV, and all of a sudden it was like, "Paka!" And we're like, what was that? And we looked over and they literally popped themselves apart and like shattered all over the floor.
Yeah, what a mess.
Yeah, it was almost like they were like, I gotta breed, and they just threw themselves off the ledge.
Wow.
It's pretty intense. Pretty intense.
When things get desperate, you got to go for it.
That's
sometimes.
true. Yeah, you gotta go for it.
Yeah,
you're right. So they have those cool, like those central axis, and then which they're in the pine family, as we've discussed. And if you look at them, they're technically spirally arranged up that little bit. And if you imagine literally any other cone, pine cone specifically, I should say, they will all have those spirally arranged cone scales. And so if you just you get a sugar pine, those big long ones, and they're like a 1.5 feet, 18 inches long. They're like 6 or 8 inches wide. I just collected some this last weekend down in the Siskiyous. I'll give you one. I got 2.
Great.
It's on my list. It's yours.
I'd love to.
Actually, I have 2 cones I'm going to give you. Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
But they have, if you just went and clipped off each one of those cone scales, then you'd be left with that same central axis.
Okay.
It's just they're not dehiscent. They don't fall apart. But it's the same general makeup. It's like putting you have the chassis of a Ford, and you just put different body types on it, and you get the Ford Focus and the Ford Ranger and the Ford other car.
It's like I'm glad you chose a car metaphor. Knowing me, Alex, the car guy.
Exactly. I've always thought of you as an auto man.
Yeah, I love to get my elbows greasy.
That's right. That's exactly what you like to do.
I don't want to bury the lead here, Casey, but I simply adore cedar cones.
Oh, they're so cool.
They might be.
What do you like about them? Tell me about them.
To me, they look like soft serve. Which is great because there's some. First off,
we got to talk about what you like about soft serve, but let's put a pin in that.
What
do I
like about soft serve?
It's hard serve is so much better.
My stomach and mind are open for all kinds of ice cream experiences.
All kinds of serves.
Yes,
I see.
But I like that it's shaped like that because it's fun. It's a little wordplay. It's a cone, ice cream cone.
I
cedar
see.
cone. If you're really looking for something, to do. But I just love that they look just like a little ball, and they're so tight and compact. And then when they're not, they're like I don't think they're that attractive. But when they're together and they're just sitting upright on a tree, it looks so strange and funny.
It totally does. You don't expect cones to be sitting upright.
No,
and they cover all the lower branches sometimes too.
Yeah, it's really absurd. But I like the way they look like little alien eggs in the tree.
That's such a good way to describe them. I always call them barrels. I think they're barrel shaped.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, did you ever play Donkey Kong?
Oh, 100%.
Love Donkey
Kong Country.
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know. I lost track of names. It's like Donkey Kong. Yeah, I'll play that one. This is different from the last one.
What about needle structure?
Thank you. Bring us back. I started talking about video games, and you're like, Casey, stop talking about video games.
No, this is my job tonight.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We're on a little bit of a tight schedule for this episode. I'm gonna. This is no BS, Alex.
You are just such a producer.
I'm keeping us on as I go on a 5-minute rant about how I'm gonna keep us on time.
I appreciate that.
Okay, needles, Case.
Needles. All right, so this is really cool. Their twigs, as they grow out, their shoots are dimorphic, is the term.
Whoa.
And basically what that means is they have their shoots that grow out and make the twigs and the branches a little bit longer, right?
Oh, okay.
But then they also have buds and shoots that are on little pegs, and they don't really get any longer. Maybe slowly they'll build up millimeter by millimeter. Mm-hmm. But each one of those pegs has about 15 to 45 individual leaf buds, and those create new needles every year.
Wow.
So evergreen needles, but look it up and you can see what I'm talking about. They basically have needles that are bunched on these little pegs in bundles. And they're not bundles in the same that a true pine has literal a wrap around 3 needles in a bundle.
Right.
They're all just coming out of these little peg shoots.
It looks quite Christmassy to me.
It totally does. They have that same that appearance, like a normal conifer kind of appearance.
Yeah.
However, the one thing is, they lose a really significant attribute of conifers.
Okay.
As they get older, as they get bigger. So classic conifer, your normal Christmas tree, spruces, Douglas firs, true firs, almost everything.
Yeah.
They have that central main dominant leader with that dominant growing tip, right? And then they have those branches that come down, so they have that classic child drawing a tree, just a stick with a triangle over the top of it.
Yep.
It's called excurrent growth.
Oh, wow. We talked about that in our first episode, Casey.
I'm going to reminisce.
Wow.
So... Yeah, so you have that excurrent growth form. Meanwhile, these trees, the Cedar of Lebanon, as well as other true cedars, they, for whatever reason, have the ability and commonly have these new branches that are called reiterations, or rather their branches reiterate and just start growing straight up.
Interesting.
So you can see really old examples of this tree, the Cedar of Lebanon, where has a branch that kind of comes out and just curves up and then creates a whole other tree. So it looks like there's several different trees, but you follow their stems, they all go right back down to the main stem.
Is this kind of like the Doug fir that's out my...
Yes, it is, but Doug firs generally don't do it. Your Doug fir lost its top at some point, so then those branches all started going up because it was I'm worried, I need to do something, so it loses that auxin chemical where the very tip bud bud on a Douglas fir is releasing a hormone called auxin. And that basically says to all the other buds beneath it, don't grow up, grow out. And that's why you get that single shoot with all the things growing horizontal beneath it. You clip off or you top or you, and otherwise, whatever happens, that top bud gets damaged. It no longer creates that auxin train. So you no longer have the auxin saying grow out. Every other bud is going to be like, I'm going to grow up. So then, whing, the tree shoots up all these new growths that is growing straight up. Or the next year's growth, instead of it like new buds popping, you just get the buds that are already there. Instead of growing out, they just like aim straight up and start growing up.
I gotcha.
So they do that, and that's because, let's say you and I are trees competing. Your top bud gets knocked off. Mine does not. I'm going to grow up and have compete you any day of the week, and you're going to die. Unless you can have backups in the wings take over your dominance in the area. You know what I mean? So evolutionary totally makes sense.
Okay.
The Cedar of Lebanon does not, it just doesn't do that. It does it for a long time, and it just, for whatever reason, some branches are just like, not me. But they don't grow directly up. They kind of grow out and then curve up.
Yeah.
And then they create like these really fun kind of pads. Like I don't know how to describe it, but if you look up the Lebanese flag, the Cedar of Lebanon is right in the center of their flag.
Wow.
And it shows this like attribute really well because it's kind of like one single tree, but like a really flat, wide triangle because it has these little iterations and all these branches kind of come up and kind of create their own little like, imagine like someone holding up a bunch of trays of food.
Yeah, man.
But like, an octopus holding up like 16.
Yeah, they're just like little tables of, and like kind of speaking of Donkey Kong, it's a bit, to me, when I see it, it looks a bit like
platform game.
Platform, like classic platforming.
It's exactly what it is.
Just like a table here, and then like a table across from it, but then one in between above.
Yes.
And kind of staggered like bricks in a wall.
That's the aesthetic exactly.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
They're such beautiful trees, complex canopies.
Yes, absolutely. Its capaciousness is complex.
Oh, well done.
And
hold on, take a drink of water. Oh my god.
And I love that it kind of, to me, it sort of looks like a coniferous.
Yeah.
What am I saying? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
A coniferous oak tree.
That is a great description of it.
It's like an oak tree, but with needles and cones.
Beautiful. Your aesthetic, Alex, how you see things, constantly impresses me.
Wow, thanks, Casey.
Oh, thank you.
And ditto.
So that's what's really cool. That's as you're walking through this forest, that's what you're going to see specifically.
That's amazing.
They're such gorgeous trees, and they get huge, and they do this over a couple hundred years, and you just get these really fascinating, gorgeous, huge forests.
Well, Casey, I'm extremely excited to learn more about the Cedar of Lebanon.
You're gonna.
However, we need to take a quick break.
Let's get it done.
We'll be right back with more Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we're talking about the Cedar of Lebanon. More specifically, I know that we're going to be talking a bit about uses of the wood, which is something that a lot of people request to hear more about kind of generally.
True, yeah.
So we're focusing an entire episode on it, which I think is pretty groovy, baby.
I think it's pretty all right. Well, it's a good point. So you are right, and so is everyone else. I find trees to be fascinating in and of themselves.
What?
I'm not.
You do?
I know. It's something that's subtle about my personality.
Something about Casey is that he actually hates trees.
Yeah,
this is like you calling me not an animal lover, you son of a...
I'm sorry.
I don't think I'm ever going to forgive you for that.
I know, and I see it in your eyes. I can feel it. I want to get out of here.
You know what? I forgive you.
Alex
3.0.
Thank you. You've ascended.
Okay.
I'm never going to make that mistake again.
Please continue.
Anyway, have you ever read the Epic of Gilgamesh?
Wow, no, but I've heard plenty about it. I also know that maybe like the Smurf villain's cat is called Gilgamesh or something.
Oh, yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. All right, cool.
Or is it the villain himself? I've never watched that show. I just know it from kind of secondhand pop culture.
I also don't really know about that.
Well, let's not look it up, and let's continue to talk about the tree itself.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is a Mesopotamian, it's like commonly known as the first religious text, but also the first like literature ever written down, at least from Mesopotamia.
Okay.
And it's kind of like those other oral traditions, like Beowulf,
the Iliad.
The Iliad, exactly. Like they're probably for thousands of years just oral tradition, and then some person wrote them down at some point.
For sure, okay.
Tapped them into a tablet.
Gilgamesh.
Okay. It's one of the famous. There's a brewing company called Gilgamesh Brewing. Highly recommend it. So this tree was mentioned, I think, like several hundred times or several times at least in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Okay.
Because allegedly he had made his city out of it. And then, in fact, actually, from what I was reading, they said that he actually gotten there was like a god, some god, I think it was a Mesopotamian god, was like, you may not cut these trees down. And so then Gilgamesh was like, yeah, we're going to go cut those trees down. And ended up getting in this huge battle with a demigod. And then they ended up losing the demigod and the gods. And then the gods were like, you shouldn't do this. We're not going to allow you to do it because you're going to destroy the forest. And guess what? Gilgamesh and all of the humans coming after him did.
He cut down the forest.
We cut it down and we lost it, just the way the gods thought.
Way to go, Gilgi.
Yeah, but don't blame Gilgi because everyone did it afterwards too. King Solomon allegedly built his temple out of the Cedar of Lebanon.
Now, when I'm building a precious space, I'm probably not like, hey, let me build this out of something that burns really easily.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Well, but
I'm not saying I'm smarter than King Solomon.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not saying that, I guess.
Hey, let's just say you're neutral on King Solomon's choice of building product.
Yeah, no comment.
No comment. That's a good point. Yeah. But by not commenting, we know you're commenting.
Yeah. Well, I go no comment and I roll my eyes.
Well,
like a passive aggressive parent.
That's your passive aggressive historian. Well, the reason that he probably did it is because you can get sandstone anywhere, dime a dozen in Jerusalem. You can go get it right now. However, if you wanted to build a fancy thing,
it's precious.
You'd have to go get something fancy, right?
I see.
Exactly. So way back when, the cedar, like I said earlier, it was used and it was a usable thing. So they would actually make it into the stuff they would use. And the usability of this tree's wood was important for two reasons. One, it was very straight, and it was like a good straight timber rather than an oak or another kind of tree that is like an olive, like something that had a different kind of meaning, a different place in the culture. Olives, figs, these kinds of trees you would use because they made food, and you wouldn't necessarily have a tree that was like growing everywhere all the time. There was this really straight, strong wood, didn't decay. It had properties that helped keep moths away. So you would build have you heard of hope chests and things like this, or cedar chests?
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
I think the chest that led to Narnia was probably made of cedar.
That's probably true. Wait, that was
it's a wardrobe.
I was going to say that was
but what is a wardrobe but a tall chest?
That's a fine point, with doors that open outwards rather than up.
That's right.
All right, touche.
Thank you.
So they would do that, exactly, because it would help keep moths off of your woolens and things.
For sure, okay.
So what they ended up doing, of course, is making it was a very fancy, very aromatic wood. It's commonly known right now about go get cedar. It smells really good.
Yeah.
The irony is the cedar that we talk about now is mostly not even a true cedar. We don't harvest them in Oregon. We just grow them as landscape trees.
Oh.
But people's this is cedar wood. It's cedar shingles. We are talking about the western red cedar. Or the eastern red cedar. Or some other thing entirely.
Northern white?
Northern white, probably. We call it a cedar.
Okay.
The incense cedar. All of these trees we just named are actually in a completely different family. Those are in the Cupressaceae, the cypress family.
Yes, the arborvitae.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not even closely related in a short-term sense. It's in a completely different family.
Wow,
entirely.
You know what's wild?
What?
You just went on a 3-minute rant, and I knew everything you were talking about.
What? Do Alex 4.0.
I understood all of it. 4 now?
Well, yeah, you clearly just ascended. This is you're just building up. We're 3.0.1.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. And now, you're picking up. You're just like those kids we were talking about.
That's right.
Every single thing I say, it just sticks in your brain.
Thank you.
Yeah, compliment or insult.
Just like a kid.
But yeah, so now we refer to cedar as a thing that smells good. It has antifungal properties, and it like has these like it helps keep bugs away and things like this. Completely different kind of tree, like in every way.
We don't harvest deodar cedars?
No, we don't. In fact, over in Lebanon, they are a sacred tree. Obviously, they're on the flag. They're protected because they have such a small amount left.
Yeah.
And so we've been using these trees for hundreds of years, but of course, way back in thousands of years ago, it took a lot of effort to fall a tree this size.
For sure, I can imagine.
Yeah, they just didn't have chainsaws, right?
Yeah.
So
you're hacking at that. You're going back and forth for hours getting that thing down.
And you have to go up to like 4,000 or some feet in elevation up in the mountains of Lebanon and Turkey, and you have to then harvest the tree, get them down, have them cut into lengths that are the right size.
Yeah, then you got to process the thing.
Exactly. And this is all done by hand tools, by human power.
That's wild.
So when you want to get something that's big and fancy, you get these huge, big cedar timbers. They're gorgeous.
Okay.
So it's also a lot easier to build like a gigantic thing that's 80 feet tall. I don't know how big the Temple of Jerusalem was at the time, but in order to have a big, tall thing, you'd need one big, long structure.
Yeah.
You could pile up a bunch of bricks and you could make columns like that.
Right.
Or you can just use one single tree that's carved.
Oh, so when you look at a wooden temple and it's like hugely tall, you got to go like, wow, that's impressive because I know that came from a single tree.
Exactly.
What fine craftsmanship.
Exactly. And then you're like, I'm going to Jerusalem and I will honor King Solomon. They have this just like all these properties. They also have the same things that you get in pine. So you can like use the resin to help seal boats.
Oh, great.
And cut down those trees. It's also wood, so of course it grows. It doesn't decay because it's super decay resistant. So the Phoenicians of oh my God, it's not Phoenix. Someone made a joke about that, and it always sticks in my head. They're a seafaring peoples. They used to be.
Okay.
And they were from the middle Mediterranean.
Okay.
And they were historically known as the people who started the very first sea trade.
Oh, cool.
Going across the Mediterranean. These oh God, I can't even say it anymore.
It's okay.
Phoenicians.
Phoenicians, not Facetians?
Yes, Phoenicians. Phoenicia. It was an ancient Semitic-speaking theocratic civilization that originated in the Levant.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, the Phoenicians were a seafaring people, and they were known as the first people to use, like, to really become like a sea power. But they weren't like military; they were just merchants most of the time. So they would just trade with all these other different places around. They built their fleet of boats from this wood, from the cedar. Allegedly, we don't know about the translation, the ark, Noah's ark, was built of cedar. We don't know. It's called like gopher wood, and there's like a bunch of different translations.
Oh.
But if you look back in the etymology, it could be that. However, we can't really prove that ever existed as a technical thing, right?
You know, it's kind of bumming me out.
What?
Learning about all these civilizations just hacking the shit out of Cedar of Lebanon forests
and
to build machines of war and trade.
Yeah. And, temples, that was, I guess, not necessarily for either of those, but, it's
related.
It's related.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
They're such beautiful trees.
They're such gorgeous trees. And so they would end up just, they were extremely useful. And so like you were saying earlier, we usually on this podcast talk about something that's very specifically nature related, not necessarily the secondary product that comes from that, which would be the wood or the material. And a lot of people are like, Casey, does that make you upset, logging or something? And I'm like, it does, but not because it's bad in and of itself. Using a tree as a resource to build something it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like using wood for just about everything I can possibly do for 100 different reasons. I just think it looks nice. I think it smells nice. It has a better like aesthetic, rather than cement.
Yeah, it's also great.
Yeah, it's carbon. It will, if you build a house of wood, it's probably better than building a house of cement. Mm-hmm. Feels better. It would be theoretically, if you can like leave the wood exposed, it's so much more beautiful.
Yeah. It's part of the natural world.
Yeah, and they grow back. Like, it's absolutely true. And we're not here to have a conversation about wood products industry because it's messed up for sure. Mm-hmm. We've basically made it into an industry. Back then, it was a resource just the same as anything else. Like, they weren't necessarily destroying the ecosystem, and they didn't know even if they were. So you kind of got to give them the benefit of the doubt. You can't give us the benefit of the doubt now.
Yeah, we know better.
Yeah, we know better, yet we still do it in the way that just makes us the most money.
I see.
Okay. So back then, it was a really, like, you had to work for it. You couldn't just go, let's just go cut down a cedar tree. It was like, okay, we're going to go do this. It takes a village to get this whole cedar tree. They would use it for a bunch of different things. It was a much more revered thing. Slowly but surely, though, just like everything, everyone wants to build this glorious grand temple. Now the bar is set here. Everyone's got to get that wood. The Phoenicians have the best fleet. What did they use? Oh, that? Let's go cut down our version of those, and let's make our big best fleet. So on and so forth until almost all of them were gone. And we ended up getting, there's one grove that is still left that people have seen and gone to because it was more or less protected by like a ancient Christian monastery and other, like, just kind of an area that was very revered. And it's called the Cedars of God in Lebanon.
Interesting.
Isn't that such a cool, like, name?
Yeah.
Where are you going? I'm going to go to the Cedars of God.
It certainly sounds like a national monument.
Yeah, and I believe it is for at least these people. Certainly, Lebanon. Like I said, it is one of their like revered spaces because this tree represents their culture to such a deep extent.
Wow, I'm looking at pictures of it right now.
Aren't those trees insane?
Pretty incredible. You see this one, and it's like, oh, that's a fair-sized tree. And then I saw the human for scale next to it. I'm like, oh, shit. That thing's big.
It's huge. All these trees are just super gorgeous. It's basically the equivalent of an old-growth cedar forest.
Wow.
And there are records from people going all the way back to like the 1500s, seeing this tree and counting like 28. And then like maybe 50 years later, someone else comes back and they counted 23. And then another came back and counted 20.
No.
Yeah. So they were not getting cut down. Most likely they're probably falling from whatever happens.
Oh, wow.
But you just get like, I mean, because they're way up in the mountains, like, you know, covered in snow most of the year. Is
it like they don't, I mean, trees fucking breed. Are they not getting it on?
Oh, I'm sure they totally are, but they were probably only counting the big ones.
They just take forever to grow, so
exactly.
they're like a bunch of little tiny saplings.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no one would count every single, foot tall sapling as a tree, most likely, but who knows?
I got you.
So it's this really cool old grove that they've kept, and slowly but surely, it's rebounding a little bit, but it was protected, and like legend has it that Hadrian, the emperor of Rome, like built a wall. He's famous for his walls, and he ended up building a wall around some of it and said, "This is my imperial forest. No one can cut it down." So he protected some of them, and then later Queen Victoria, I think, Queen Victoria, one of them queens of England, did the same thing. Okay. And then in World War I, they just decimated the forest because they wanted or needed to build railroad ties.
Oh,
so the British cut down a bunch of what they maybe at the time didn't quite know was not quite a threatened or extinct or a species of tree that you can't really, the habitat loss is incredible. They just removed a bunch to make them into railroads to, build stuff. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is like, we hate that you're just cutting these trees down for war machines.
At least Hadrian was like, I mean, that's like such misguided philanthropy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to build a wall to protect these trees. Oh, that's great because they're mine. Oh, well, you can't really fight against it because it's like, well, at least he's protecting the trees.
Yeah, exactly. So us from our like historical fly on the wall, we're like, well, okay.
Everything changes over time.
Exactly.
Perspectively.
That's exactly true. So, so these trees have been anciently used for all these different things. We have bastardized the term cedar to be 1,000 other different trees, especially here in the United States, where cedrus, like that's what the Romans called it. That's why it's the Latin term for it.
Yeah.
So they would call, this is cedrus, and then that comes back over here, and we're like, this wood smells like a cedar. So they would call it a cedar. And we did that for a bunch of different trees that are technically junipers, false cedars that are technically just completely unrelated to everything, and like are trees that are from Australia or something. It's like, why are we even? Yeah. Can we just use a different name?
False cedars getting rep for being cedars is a little bit of stolen valor, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I think other trees deserve their own name.
Yeah,
and I happen to know that they have their own names. We just don't use them. Whatever. the Cedar of Lebanon is famous, and it's one of the only trees. I don't know if you've noticed this, but this entire podcast, we have been saying the Cedar of Lebanon.
Yes.
We have not said the Lebanese cedar.
Yeah.
And that is because way back when people were describing this tree, it was so famous specifically in Lebanon that it would be saying like, oh, we're going to go get the wines of France. We're going to go get the thing of this place. Because that tree in Lebanon itself was known because of their mountains. They had the cedars. Like they were the place of the cedar trees.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we call it the Cedar of Lebanon, even though we would call the one that grows like super similar species over in the Himalayas, we call that the Himalayan cedar. We don't say it's the cedar of the Himalayas.
Yeah, it's not the hornbeam of Europe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a funny like way that this tree has become obviously a national identity for the people and the culture of Lebanon, but also it has become a like even the name that we call it in English is most of the time twisted specifically to the way we've called it since Roman times, when they'd say, well, we're going to go get the Cedar of Lebanon because that's the best cedar. They have the best cedars in Lebanon.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very curious tree in that regard. And of course, it's also just stunningly beautiful. It's a botanic specimen, not anywhere closely related to the true firs, which the true firs also have those cones that grow upright.
Yeah.
But on a historical, like where did these two species of trees split off from each other? They're like really vastly not related. Obviously, they're all in the pine family, so they're as closely related as you could be, but they're also on other sides of the spectrum. So the cedars split off from all the rest of the pines and the hemlocks and all the other things way, way long ago. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, we don't really know, like they're closely related, but they just look similar superficially.
Casey, to wrap up our discussion of the Cedar of Lebanon, I have a potentially dumb question.
Uh-oh.
And it's a certainly underwhelming question. It's not climactic in any way. But I've been thinking about it for like 20 minutes.
All right.
So as I mentioned earlier, I have a jar in my kitchen that has what we thought was maybe a deodar cedar
I think
cone in it, a true cedar cone. And it's congealed with sap, and the sap is dried, so it's like glued shut.
Yeah.
That sap, is that the same sap that you would find if you drilled into the cedar?
Yes.
Now, I guess if that is a yes, then my follow-up is like, why? Because that tree over there that I got that cone from, all of the cones were like, they look like birds had shit all over them. They were white with sap.
Oh, yeah.
Why would a tree put sap on its own cones if the idea of the cone is to expand and release seeds?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Why would it want to shut its cones closed?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the wrong characterization, but
Yeah, it's a good question though. Well, I could say there are some cones, the term would be serotinous, but those are fire adapted species where the sap like glues it shut so that the seeds don't escape and birds and things cannot get into it until a fire comes and heats it up so
Pops
much.
open.
Yeah, it's where it comes open.
Okay.
So that could be, but I do not believe that the cedars of Lebanon or the deodar, any other kind of cedar, true cedar, is fire adapted in that same way.
Okay.
So I don't really have a good answer for that. That is not a stupid question. It's a good question.
Okay.
I have two ideas though. One would be it just happens, maybe you just happen to have some glands that didn't evolve away and they just kind of put out little bits of sap.
Okay.
It could also be that it's trying to keep the cone together so it doesn't fall apart too early.
I see.
So it's just growing up and it's getting big and that sap kind of covers it. Maybe it's a little bit of a deterrent for anything else to get in there, like just a little too sticky insects like, I don't think I'm going to drill into that. Other things just don't want to get involved. But then it's not so much, and the physical drying of the tissue on the inside is still enough that it can just crack everything open.
I see.
So it might just be able to work that it can kind of take care of itself. It's not enough to inhibit the cone breaking, but it's enough to inhibit it from breaking too early and maybe having other insects or something get into it.
Hey, that works
I'm not
for me.
sure. Yeah.
I like that answer.
That's just a guess, to be honest.
I mean, I think it's a pretty educated guess.
Hopefully.
An educated theory.
Yeah, let's call it that.
Casey, let's move on to our review of the what?
I said, I think we should.
Oh, God.
I didn't mean to spook you.
I thought you said, no shit. I was like, wait, what?
What else is there?
Our review of the Cedar of Lebanon. If you're joining us for the first time, or even if you're not, here's how we do it. Every week, we talk about a tree, and then we give it a rating from 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. This season, honor is spelled O-N. Yeah, sure.
Honor.
H-O-N-O-U-R. And Casey, as our resident expert, I feel bad because I'm trying to get better as a podcaster and as like a vocal personality.
Yeah.
I feel like I was doing so well there. And then I tried to spell something and I fucked it up.
I thought you were still doing well.
And I got extremely self-conscious. And here we are, me explaining away the thing that happened.
I think it's beautiful. I appreciate how self-aware you are.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it's part of my brand. And then it really turns some people off.
That's right. We don't eat food on the podcast anymore.
That's true. Oh, shit. Well, wait until season 4.
Only like trees that make food.
Yep. Casey is our resident expert. We will begin with you.
All right. Okay. So historically, this has always been one of my top favorite trees.
Wow.
I just think they're so beautiful, and I love that like layered appearance that we talked about, where there is just like little plates and like that platformy kind of atmosphere. I also, as I'm learning more and more about all these other trees and kind of diving into a little bit of culture and history of certain things, it makes me realize that, yeah, there's indigenous cultures all over the planet. It just so happens like certain cultures have completely overrun all these other indigenous cultures. However, if you draw time back long enough, even that was in and of itself an indigenous culture that for whatever reason has done whatever it's done. So when looking back into like the Middle East, which is a part that of the world that I just have a huge fascination for. It's where civilization as we know it started. And if that was a beautiful thing, I'm not saying that it was. In fact, I want to say exact opposite most of the time. But when you see like this civilization on a scale, and you see all these individual people start to come together and interact, and you watch that sort of saga of life in terms of the cultures of this area kind of come together. It's a lot of history about it. A lot of interesting things have happened. I just find it fascinating. And this tree has been an intense part of that entire culture for years. The Epic of Gilgamesh wrote about these trees.
Yeah.
They're mentioned in the Bible a whole bunch. They're mentioned in the Quran. They are the flag of this, extremely old and storied people that have been there for a long, 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 long time. They also have been used by the Babylonians, by King David, Nebuchadnezzar, the Assyrians. Everyone in this area has revered these trees. By revering them, they cut them down to turn them into stuff. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe a little bit of misguided reverence.
Yeah.
At least as we would look at it now. Like, wow, that's the oldest tree in the world. Let's cut it down and put it in our house. It's like, oh, don't do that. But I think they're also like, they have this really cool aspect of these things, and they were in some regard instrumental in different things about how our culture today is, because you can kind of trace a bunch of it back to then and how that culture has developed. And it's one of the oldest, like I said, most storied cultures, the Middle East, of anywhere on this planet, which there are many, but that's just one of them. And so all that said, I think this tree is a delight. Arboriculturally speaking, sometimes it does some crazy stuff. Its branches will just break off for no reason. It doesn't really decay, so you're like, well, it's not decayed. It's just kind of like it's almost like you have your shoulders, and your shoulders and your arms kind of grow up to become new heads, and then one of your arms is just like, I'm out of here.
Interesting.
And just falls off for no good reason. I don't know why. It kind of makes everyone be like, maybe that's not the greatest tree.
Weight?
Yeah, probably ends up being weight, and it just gets ripped apart from big wind or something. All those factors put together.
And it's so oddly shaped, too. Maybe
exactly.
It grows something, and it's like, oh, wait, I can't support that shit.
And the way it works is you have like the leverage on the top would work way harder on the top than it does on the bottom. Yeah, there's some, we could get into tree of biomechanics.
I'd prefer if we didn't.
Oh, we'll save it for another time. So I just think these trees are really cool. I love that their needles come out in those funny little ways. I love that their cones pop up, and their bark. Oh my God, we barely even talked about their bark.
I don't think we talked about it at all.
It has like these lovely little like squares, almost like it breaks apart horizontally and vertically into like little squares, and it just checkerboards the entire thing all the way up.
That's cool.
Especially on the bigger trees. And that's just one of the most telltale, beautiful things that I just love about them. So I'm going to give this tree a 9.1.
Wow.
9.1 for the Cedar of Lebanon.
That's incredible.
It's also a conifer. I mean, come on.
I think you've only given 9+ to 2 trees.
You're serious.
The Dawn Redwood and the Cedar of Lebanon.
What about the Douglas Fir?
I can't remember.
Neither do I. Someone tell us.
8.7 or something?
Great.
Anyway, 9.1 Golden Cones of Honor for the
C's of H. Yeah.
For the Cedar of Lebanon from Casey Clapp.
I also can't spell things out.
It's hard when you try to do it off the top of your head into a microphone.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to cruise through my review.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's a great tree. I love a tree that is culturally important. I love a tree that is useful in some way.
Yes.
I obviously don't love the idea of chopping all these beautiful trees down to make things, but I don't know. It's sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Got to crack a few eggs to make a Solomon's Temple.
Yes, that old chestnut.
No.
I love the
cedar.
cones.
It's a cedar.
Casey. I love the cones. I love that they are dehiscent. I think that's a lot of fun. When I first found out about dehiscent cones, it kind of like blew my mind. I was like, oh, it was like a concept that I never even thought of. They look great. The cones alone get a six golden cones from me.
Nice.
And then to top it all off, I'm gonna come in a little low.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not feeling that passionate today. This is me. This is my review.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. No.
From my perspective, 7.3.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's
you
do stick with it. No, don't.
7.1.
We don't need to. Oh, you're lowering it even further.
Yeah. 7.1.
All right. What lost those last 0.2?
6.7. 5.5.
You know what? This tree's a 2.0. You know, I can. You know what? I hate this tree. 0.
I'll land at 7.1.
7.1. All right.
Cones of Honor.
I think 7.1's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. It gets a lot of sap on your hands.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. I just don't feel all that good about the trees today.
Oh, gosh. That's fine.
Listen, I am half of this podcast. I can give the cones I want to give. My cones are my own.
Your cones are your own, Alex.
I don't want to hear no lip.
Everyone else, your cones are your own too. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Not even me.
That's right. That was our review of the Cedar of Lebanon. Casey, let's move on to a game.
A game?
That I haven't really told you about.
Cedar. I was expecting you were going to keep talking.
What room did I have?
I don't know. All right, what is this game?
This game I stole directly from Doughboys. Thank you, Mike and Nick. This game, so in Doughboys, it's called Let Me Be Frank, and they Google hot dogs and talk about news in hot dogs. Casey, today we are going to be playing This Week in Trees, where I Google the word trees, and we're going to talk about some of the headlines that pop up.
Oh my God. Did you do Google News search, or you just literally...
I'm gonna search tree news.
Okay.
So I think this is going to be our best segment ever.
I am so excited.
Ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Tree news, enter. And the very first top story we have.
Okay.
It's from OregonLive.com. Troubled tree cutting program had quotas, no clear standards, whistleblowers tell Oregon lawmakers.
Oh my God.
Is that interesting at all?
That is quite interesting.
Okay, I'm opening it up.
Okay.
And there's a paywall. Let's try a different one, Casey.
Okay, hold on. I think I know what that is. Does it say anything about the organization?
No.
Moo.
Well, I can't see because it's a paywall.
Oh, dang it. All right.
This is going good.
However, I will comment while you still look. I believe what that's talking about is basically they were a tree cutting program. Maybe it was for, an actual like timber sale or something like some of our state forests. They have to have X amount of money because the state forest is literally growing there to support the schools in those counties or something. And so it's really nice in that they are using their resources to support their schools and fund things. But they also have regulations keeping them down from, cutting too much. It's like, we're going to cut 1,000 trees today so that we can buy really nice stuff. It's kind of like, okay, well, let's not push it too far in either direction. Okay. So it sounds like if they have quotas, then they're just like trying to cut all the time as much no matter what the need is. is.
Yeah.
And a whistleblower usually would say, hey, you guys aren't regulating this.
Quotas.
Just guessing.
Reminds me of another department that needs some work.
You're telling me what department?
Talking about cops.
Oh, dang it. You're right.
This next story, tree service to give away 500 trees in Hadley, Ludlow. This is from Ludlow, Mass.
Oh, yeah, Hadley.
Bartlett tree experts in Northampton will be giving away 500 free trees Friday morning for Arbor Day.
Look at that. Alex, oh my God. We never even talked about it, and here we are at the end of the month. This is Arbor Month.
That's right. We screwed up so bad.
We passed Arbor Day, the most holy day of the year.
We missed Earth Day, Casey.
I didn't. I celebrated it by saying Happy Earth Day.
Well, how about getting on the Arbortrary Pod Instagram and doing some legwork for me?
Hey.
A guy who doesn't know it's Earth Day.
I barely even knew it was Earth Day until someone was like, I think it was my friend Max, who was like, hey, man, happy Earth Day.
But you're Casey, the Earth guy.
No. Shucks.
When it's
when you put your powers together, Earth. I'm Earth.
When it's like folk music day, I'll do something special.
Okay, sounds good.
It says the tree service gave away 500 trees last year during the COVID-19 pandemic to give families something to do during trying times.
Well, that's nice.
It doesn't really feel like a news story. It's just like a nice thing that happened.
Well, so I would prefer those news stories rather than covering all the awful things all the time.
Well, I'd probably agree with you.
Well, I did live. That's where I lived when I lived in Massachusetts. Was in Northampton. I consistently rode through Hadley because it was the town in between Northampton and Amherst. And Bartlett Tree Experts is like a multinational, huge company that does a lot of tree things. They're over here. They're over there. They're everywhere.
Good for them.
Yeah, they're not bad. And you know what? Planting trees is always a pretty good thing. And Massachusetts, actually, western Massachusetts, where that area is, has a lot of trees. So it's really nice to have people be planting more because, more trees is usually better.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Hey, Casey.
What do we got?
This San Jose neighborhood is in danger of losing its shade trees. Another fucking paywall. I didn't think about this.
That's okay. Well, so here's the thing with that, though.
Fucked up so bad.
You're doing so great, Alex.
No, I'm not.
Well, see, here's the thing. All you got to do is just read the headline, and I can be like, I'll talk about that for a half hour.
Well, we don't want that exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Harrison Street neighbors are concerned the city is acting too quickly to remove more than a dozen camphor trees.
Oh, camphor, yeah.
Camphor trees. Because of damage to the ...
Oh, probably sidewalk or something else, or the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, so here's the thing. You have street trees, right? Street trees have a bunch of incredible benefits, but they're not benefits that you can literally put on a ledger and say, this is positive.
Yeah.
The smaller amount of money you pay in shade, the happier you are because there's some shade on your street. You're not just sitting there in the sun.
Yes, we actually talked extensively about shade in our European Hornbeam episode.
We did, yeah.
We talked about the city... give me a moment.
Yes.
The heat urban effect.
The urban heat island effect.
The urban heat island effect.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same thing. And so a lot of times they would just look and be like, yeah, this entire sidewalk is getting, broken up because we insisted, for better or worse, in designing our roads with a roadway, a curb, a planter strip, a sidewalk. Okay, that's fine. But we plant big trees like the camphor tree is a huge tree, especially down there. You plant it in that little 3 or 2 foot section between the sidewalk and the curb, and then the tree is just going to inevitably put roots out, and underneath the curb, it's going to blast open that sidewalk. And then people who are walking by, especially if they're people who have lesser mobility than just not normal, that's not the word, I immediately regret saying that, then just anyone who's walking and is more able, that's a problem. You have to be able to have a city that works for everybody.
That's right.
So that makes perfect sense that you need to repair the sidewalks, but they constantly look at these trees as this maintenance issue, which means they get that ledger sheet on the negative side. Tree equals more money that I have to spend. And they don't take into consideration all the good things. And they just no, it's not worth it. We're going to cut these trees down. We're going to plant new trees. It's okay, man, new trees. And I just want to punch everyone who says that because it's a new tree is a little tiny tree that's going to take 80 years to get as big as that camphor tree is right now. Everyone who's on this street is going to live, grow, and die before those trees are doing the same thing that the exact trees that are there now are doing.
Yeah.
I'm getting fired up.
I can tell.
I just think it's a dumb idea. Not to mention, have we gone to the moon, Alex?
Yeah, we have.
Wow. Okay. Have we allegedly gone to the moon? We've built these massive big dams. We have built skyscrapers that can literally touch like the flight of an airplane. We build airplanes. We have engineered some amazing stuff. But we can't figure out how to build a sidewalk over roots.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Cry me a river, people. I'm just like, yeah, put our best minds on building a sidewalk that doesn't get destroyed by roots. Or I don't know, designing a city that allows for trees to grow. What about trying to change the culture? That's actually probably the hardest of all these options.
Yeah, it feels like maybe that's a case of like you design the city and then you tack on trees.
It's exactly what it is, yeah.
Instead of like building the city with the trees.
Exactly. So there's other options. We could go into this again. We'll gloss over it for the time being.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe build the sidewalk so it kind of curves around. Maybe add a bunch of layer of structural soil and dig everything out. Rebuild the sidewalk and keep it there. And they're like, well, we're just going to have to do it another 10 years. And it's like, well, yeah, but we had these trees doing this good work for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know the situation. We only know there's a ...
Yes.
So we might read through that and they're like destroying everyone's houses. I don't know.
Yeah, they could be, I don't know, raining poisonous goop onto everything. Yeah, is that possible?
You know what? We don't know what that ellipse is saying.
Yeah, we don't know. It could be.
Yeah. So anyway, there are other options. And if the neighbors are complaining and the city's moving too fast, it's probably because the city's moving too fast. And they're like, we made a decision. We have to stick with it. And because cities they're just unable to say, you know what, you're right, we're wrong. We're going to do what you guys think.
Yeah, I side with the people on this one.
Yeah, I do too. I think I usually do.
Well, that was This Week in Trees, a mixed bag of a segment.
Yeah.
We may do it again. Maybe I'll prepare some things ahead of time so we don't run into paywalls.
Do you know what I would really like?
What?
If all the listeners want to be like, oh my God, we should cover this. Send us some articles that you think are either funny, interesting, or curious.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss them sometime, and I can provide my very, let's say, superficial but very impassioned opinion about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Loving it.
Send them to our arbortrarypod.gmail account.
Casey, let's move on to our completely arbitrary Q&A. This week, our question is from Caroline Lindquist, or Carolyn. I hope it's one of those. Let's call her CL.
I like that. Hey, Caroline.
Hi, Casey and Alex. First of all, we love the podcast. Alex, we're so sorry about Solo passing. He was a great producer. Thank you so much. We are both first-year landscape architecture students and are wondering what your go-to resources are for knowing how far apart to plant different types of trees in cities or parks for best chance of success. Casey, I thought this question was so interesting.
That is a beautiful question.
This is another, do you remember that question we got? I think his name was Joshua. And I was like, this is a question I would ask, which is why I chose it.
Yeah.
This is another question I would ask. Like, how do you even tell? We've talked about arborvitae being planted far too close together.
Yes.
And my question I guess I've always had in the back of my mind was, how do we know why? Like, how do you know when you're planting these things? That's
a great question.
Let's dig in. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So there are a bunch of resources. So first off, we've seen trees grow and people have just measured them out. Like you just have a bur oak. I always use it because it usually kind of is a singular oak growing in the Great Plains a lot of times. And all you got to do is just go see an old one that's been there for 80 years and just take a measuring tape, hold it on this stem, and walk out to see how far out it is. I'm like, oh, this tree grows 30 feet in this direction, 30 feet in that direction. It says 60 feet. So that's an option.
Does that take into account the root systems?
Not necessarily the root system.
Okay.
That's a completely different thing.
That's not something you really think about at that?
It sometimes does. We'll talk about both actually here real fast.
Okay.
So most people would be concerned, like for a park or something like they're talking about, or next to a road, how big is a tree going to get is kind of what the question ultimately comes down to.
Okay. And
so we've measured it. We know this. People have gone out and done this. I have a book. It's called The Architecture of Trees, and it's really beautiful. These two landscape architects literally drew a bunch of pencil drawings of these really common trees. I think they were Italian. So it's a lot of European trees and some North American, Chinese trees that would grow in that kind of latitude.
Okay. Author on that?
I would have to look it up.
I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, it's called The Architecture of Trees. And what they did is they kind of give you all of these designs for landscape architects, and their entire goal is to find a basically give the landscape architect a resource that says, here's how big it's going to get, here's how tall it's going to get, here's the texture of the tree, and here is the fall color of it, and here's the color of it not only in fall, but this is the shade of green, this is what it looks like in early spring and mid-spring and late spring, midsummer, late summer.
All for the purposes of designing like an aesthetic with your trees.
Exactly. Did you find that author?
Yes, it is by Leonardi and Staggi.
Yes. So basically, we figured it out. You have nursery folks that are growing trees and finding different cultivars, and they're trying to find ones that are skinnier or taller. Having said all that, if we know that it's generally a big tree, it's going to, you plant it in an open arboretum and you do what's called a garden experiment where you plant 30 different trees in the same area, same soil, same rain. Everything's the same, except they're planted at different spacings between each other.
Okay.
Then you can say, okay, well, you leave that tree to grow for 30 years, it gets this big. You leave that tree to grow for 30 years, it gets this big. And you can see these trees develop their whole architecture, you know what I mean? So we've done that, and you can just look it up. You can look up nurseries, you can talk to arboreta, you can look at any kind of book that says how tall it's going to get. They usually will also have how wide, especially if you look at nurseries, because people want these specifications.
Seems really important, yeah.
Yeah, it's important, but also to pivot, it's not that important because trees are living things. They're not blocks where it's going to grow out and get 20 feet. If you plant it 15 feet away, it's going to mash itself up against whatever it's there.
Yeah.
It will grow, and if you have two trees that are, let's say they have 25-foot spreads, so basically 12 and a half feet in every direction, on average. Usually they take into consideration planting in an urban area where it's not the best, Sometimes if it's a native tree versus not native, it'll grow bigger or smaller than its natural habitat. Or if you plant it in that little planter strip like we were talking about earlier, sometimes the soil is just so terrible. It can't grow big and beautiful no matter what.
I see.
So it's going to be a little bit smaller. So let's say you got these two 25-foot spread trees. You plant them at a spacing of 25 feet. Theoretically, their branch tips are going to touch, right? But if you want this big closed canopy, squeeze them a little bit together. Once their canopies start to reach each other, they're no longer going to grow towards each other. They're going to grow out away, and they're going to grow up. Exactly.
Yeah.
So once you put these two trees, just like in a forest, the trees are going to figure it out.
It doesn't benefit them to mash into each other.
Exactly, because they're going to just shade each other out.
Not compete. They're going to...
I mean, it is competition for sure.
Yeah, it's not the word I was looking for. Anyway, go ahead.
You're totally right, though. Competition in this instance would be a fair description for what they're doing. But also, they do work together in that they are trying not to... they will try to take over one another, but they're just trying to get more light. So it's not like one tree has it out for the other.
It's not personal.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, if you have root space, it's kind of the same thing, but roots can intertwine and go over and around each other. If they're the same species, they'll actually graft together a lot of times. So root space, it actually is more like a cubic amount in the top 2 to 3 feet of soil. If you can get like 5-foot deep soil, and you can make it, there's also like equations, and it's really kind of like, there's no perfect science to it. Big tree, big soil. Little tree, less soil.
Got it.
Kind of like that.
Cool.
So you can just keep planting in there. So I would look at any landscape architecture the architecture of trees. You can also take a look at any nursery that sells trees and say, what are the mature heights and widths of this? They'll generally have those. And generally speaking, most trees, unless it's like a canyon live oak or something that's going to get like 70 feet across, like they're just abnormally large. Usually they're between like 12 and 30, maybe 40 feet. And I would say 20-foot spacing, between 20 and 30-foot spacing, almost anywhere is going to be pretty reasonable. But if you want to get big, gorgeous trees that have like a full canopy in every direction, you're going to have to space those trees out like almost 50 feet apart, And then if it's just the same, like you go to a old growth forest and you see these big, massive trees, if you were to measure the distance between these trees, it'd be like maybe 50 feet to the next tree. It's only because they have grown out 25 feet in each direction from each tree. So each tree is not growing really that big, 25 feet. But if you have two trees that are 25 feet wide, then they're going to be 50 feet apart. So if you want to get the biggest, most gorgeous big trees, plant them at big spacings, let them grow, give them 80 years. You want to have like a closed canopy forest, tighten that spacing up a little bit, but don't mash them in there like arborvitae, where you're like, it's a dog hair thick kind of thing.
Interesting.
Nothing can grow.
Cool.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much for your question. And this question was from Caroline and Kendra.
And Cricket the dog.
And Cricket the dog.
Hi, you guys.
My love to Cricket and both of you. Thank you so much for the question. Casey, listener, if you have a question for Casey about trees.
What if I had a question for listeners?
Well, we could also make a segment out of that.
All right, I'm going to come up with some questions.
If you have a question about trees, please email us at arbortrarypod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at arbortrarypod. We have some pretty photos and things on there and some information. Check out our website for more additional readings on each episode, completelyarbitrary.com. Or join our Patreon. You can join the Arboretum for bonus episodes or the Cone of the Month Club for the bonus episodes and a monthly unique cone sticker designed by an independent artist. It's a lot of fun. Casey.
Alex.
I do want to say I've been a little irritated tonight.
I hope it wasn't me.
Well, no, when I'm irritated, it's everything.
Oh, good. Except for the Cedar of Lebanon. You gave that a 2.0.
No, I mean, the Cedar of Lebanon's fine. I'm not irritated by it because it's not standing in front of me. I've only seen pictures on my computer, But thank you for being here. Thank you for tolerating my behavior.
Always. You've been such a delight. Are you kidding me? You're too hard on yourself, kid.
No, maybe not. I mean, maybe.
Hugs and kisses, Alex.
Hugs and kisses, Casey. Thank you so much for listening to Completely Arbitrary. Until next time. I was like, what is he going to say? I'm going to get on my camel and walk to the next oasis. Can we maybe take a submarine to our next country?
Yeah.
Tight.
We'd have to go through the Mediterranean.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Whoa.
Maybe we'll encounter a kraken.
Oh.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Completely Arbitrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp. Our production consultant is Olivia Frankie. Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by the Mini Vandals. Thanks for listening.